Hey you guys, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about the books that have been on my TBR for about a minute and a half. This isn't a comprehensive list because I'm sure I'm missing some. But yeah, I just finished taking the thumbnail picture, and I am not going to be trying to move this onto the ground and picking it up. So we're just going to take off the stack and hope it doesn't fall and cause serious bodily harm to me or any of the things on this table. But without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So I know I said I was going to talk about LGBT themed things, but I didn't have time to plan a video with everything that had happened this week with my sister's graduation and then vlogging and then there not being internet. I couldn't look anything up and see what I wanted to do exactly. So that'll be coming next week. So this week, I'm just going to be doing a comprehensive TBR to keep myself accountable and hope that I will get through these books, most of these books, by summertime. But the first book on this list is the Oxford Books of English Ghost Stories. I have had this list on my TBR for years, probably since I graduated high school. So it's been 4 years. But I never got the chance to read it, and I don't know why. Basically, it's just a bunch of ghost stories from I think the 1800s, 1700s, or it's just kind of comprehensive throughout history. So I really need to get into it, but we'll see how that goes. I think I might put this down for my July TBR, just kind of force myself to sit down and read through it, but who knows? I'm really interested to get into it. I think I might do some Goodreads review stuff on it, look up the reviews and see what people have to say about it. So the next book on this list is The Dark Half by Stephen King, and this follows Thad Beaumont, and he is a writer who has this incredible imagination and talks about weird deaths and mysterious murders and everything. But however, he ended up, someone's been committing murders that have been following his books exactly, and then one of the murders has ended up with his fingerprints on it. So that's kind of a little unnerving, say the least. So to say the least, I can't talk, but am I going to keep trying? Yes. But that is unnerving to say the least. And we'll see how kind of this book plays out and how it's going to go. I'm excited to read it. It's been on my TBR for about a year now. Yeah, I got this from a friend for my birthday. So hopefully I'll get the chance to read it soon. The next book on this list is Needful Things by Stephen King. Now this follows a small town in Maine where everything that you could want sexually, physically, emotionally is up for sale, and there's a price for all of them. So this, I don't know exactly who's the main character or cast of characters for this one. That's kind of all that I know about the book. It's just kind of all the things that you want or physically need, and then it has a price for it. So I'm interested in this one, and I hope I get to it soon. I really hope, because it sounds really interesting, and I just need to get into these books and not stop being I'm normally not daunted by large novels. I find them interesting and I love reading them because I can get so immersed in the book. However, sometimes those larger novels kick me in the butt because I'll get so busy when I try to read them that I have absolutely no time to sit down and actually enjoy the book. So we'll see how this goes. I'm hoping that this is probably one of the books I'll try to read during my writing hiatus when I finish my novel. So fingers crossed it happens sometime over the summer. Me finishing my novel and then getting to this book. The next book on this list has been on my TBR for a while, but I haven't had the physical copy until recently. That is Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Reese Brennan, Maureen Johnson, and Robin Wasserman. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. But this follows Simon as he goes through after the final events of City of Heavenly Fire, and goes through kind of becoming a shadow hunter and all those fun angsty things that come with it. So I'm excited to get into it. My friend had read it when she first started coming out with the stories, and she loved all of them. So I'm hoping that I'll love them the same amount as she did, but 3 years later. The next book on my list has been one that's been on there for a couple months now, and that is Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Now this follows kind of the French Revolution era, and you guys have seen the movie. I don't really want to go ahead and describe the events of the movie because I'm going to end up doing it. So that's just kind of all I'm going to give to you. So I got this book and on a like an impulse buy because I got it while I was at Grassroots, which is a secondhand bookstore locally here, because you know it's important to support your local bookstores. But I got it on a impulse buy because I was like, well, it's the only like copy here. It's pretty cheap at the moment, so why not get it? However, I didn't put into I meant to read it a long time ago when I first got it, but I didn't put into account how busy I would be getting when I planned to read it, so it just never happened. So now here we are, nearly, I want to say about a year, no, not even a year, maybe a couple, like almost a year since I bought this book that it's been sitting here. It's kind of dusty, so, but I'm hoping to get into it soon. I just don't know when. I think I'll have to prioritize, I'll have to figure out a way to like maybe switch between books and have this as like a secondary book when I'm like on, I don't even think this is a reading slump book. But I mean, I will get to it. It's sitting on my shelf, and it'll be read soon. The next book on my list is The Three Musketeers by Alexandre Dumas, and this follows, well, Athos, Porthos, Aramis, and D'Artagnan as they kind of work as the Musketeers of France. And I love the Three Musketeers story. I've watched the Mickey Mouse version, the one with Logan Lerman, and then the BBC version. So I love all of those, but I think it's finally time for me to get down and actually read the book. And this isn't nearly as daunting as Les Miserables. It's only like 700 or so pages, and the font's fairly big, so I have a feeling I can read it and enjoy it. So here's to hoping I get to this soon. I think it's going to be another one of those books I read during like my writing hiatus, like give myself a breather and reconnect with the world, or maybe catch up on sleep that I have been losing. So we'll see how that works, but hopefully this pops up in a TBR sometime soon. Let's pray for the end of the summer. It's just going to put me in a Musketeers mood, and I'm going to end up wanting to watch the BBC version. Granted, I've been wanting to rewatch the BBC version for a while now, since I finished the BBC version. So if the camera angle is different, I apologize, as well as my outfit. My battery died. Then I had to go make lunch, and then I had to go out, and I'm going back out again in a couple hours. So here we are, in different lighting, different outfit, different angle, finishing this really comprehensive TBR. And I just bought 2 new books too. But anyway, the next book on this list is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco, and this follows Audrey Rose as she works in as she becomes an apprentice for her uncle's morgue, I believe. I want to say morgue or forensic scientist, something like that. And according to the back, she ends up falling in love with Jack the Ripper. If that's not obvious with the different larger font, different color. Yeah, I'm really interested to get into this book. I meant to get into it a long time ago, but I wasn't sure how it was gonna necessarily be, because it was like such an awkward, like, stalking Jack the Ripper. I was like, I don't want it to be like a weird love story. And part of me is still expecting a weird love story, just because it says that she fell in love with Jack the Ripper. And I'm really hoping it's not the case, because we already glorify certain serial killers as it is, and people actually do fall in love with them, so I don't want that to be the case for this one. But everyone's been raving about it, and everyone's been saying good things about it, so I'm hoping that I will end up falling in love with it the same way everyone else has. The next book on this list is one that I forgot that I actually bought until recently. So here's where we are right now. Dark Places by Gillian Flynn, and I don't know too much about this. I just know that she's a survivor of a satanic cult killing, and now in the future people want her to talk to her to try and free her brother, who she had told was the killer, but ends up in kind of the same situation that she is about 25 years later. So it sounds interesting. Like I said, I've been meaning to get more into like mystery and thriller books rather than just YA, and expand my ranges outside of that. And so far I have read very little. Yeah, very little. So I'm hoping that like once I get more into it, and like I don't forget that I have these books on my TBR, I'll be able to go and like read through all of them and just kind of enjoy them. The next book on this TBR is one that I just got recently and I've been really excited about, and that is Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Now everyone's been raving about it, or the people that I have, and it just basically follows Achilles and Patroclus throughout their years, and I guess it's a very gay love story. And I'm all about that, especially in Greek mythology, because let's face it, the Greeks were not heterosexual, and I feel like that always gets erased in like popular media and everything else in between, and that is not the case. So I heard that that was how this is working. So I'm excited to read it. And on top of that, she also wrote another book called Circe. So I'm like, if you're gonna be on this Greek mythology kick, like writing them, you have, and I enjoyed this book, you will have my money, and I'm not going to complain about it. My wallet might, and so will the large expanse of shelves that I do not have, but I will not. The next book on this list is one that I've already read, but I need to reread, and it's part of my rereading month, and that is Percy Jackson the Lightning Thief. Now, for those of you guys who haven't heard about this book or watched the movie and saw how that went, or have heard about other people talk about the books, this is a middle grade novel written by Rick Riordan. He's very popular, but it just essentially follows Percy as he just realizes he's a demigod, and his father, not that there's a huge spoiler on the thing, is actually Poseidon. That is a pretty big spoiler. Not that I remembered the book. That's fine. You guys probably know already. But essentially, I read this book way back in middle school, stopped in the middle of everything, like in the third book, because I think I just lost track. Then the series blew up more than normal. The more books came out, I got overwhelmed and put it down and never picked it up again. So here I am, picking it back up. So hopefully I'll go ahead and be able to enjoy it and read through it and not have to wait forever and ever like all the other fans of the books have with the books coming out. The next book on this list is one that I didn't think was going to be on this list, but then I remembered. We didn't read it in class because shipment came out late and she didn't tell us the books, and here we are. But that is Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe. It's been 2 years since I've actually thought about this book, not gonna lie. But essentially, this follows Dr. Faustus, and he's, I believe, I forget his position, but he just wants to learn everything, so he makes a deal with the devil. And for those of you guys who don't know what a Faustian deal is, it essentially follows Faustus, who made a deal with the devil to get all of his like earthly wishes and desires granted, and then I think there was a Tom and Jerry episode on it. He had a couple of hours to make due on like all of his sins, and then you kind of get the point there. If he didn't end up following through with like forgiving everyone and like getting his sins all wrapped up in the world, then he goes to hell. So I'm really hoping that I'll get a chance to read through it, because also, fun fact, on top of needing to read more classics and more thrillers and more non-YA things, I need to read more plays. Like, I need to get back into Shakespeare and everything, so we'll see how that goes, because it's like the middle of 2018, and I have not done that yet. Next book on my list is one that I have had for like 2 years now, and I bought in Ireland, and I'm pretty sure I haven't read this yet. But we'll see. Doesn't look familiar to my red shelf, and that is a complete Lady Gregory's Complete Irish Mythology, with a preface by W.B. Yeats. Oh, there's a sticker. But essentially, it's just a complete collection of all the Irish mythology out there. So I'm excited to read it because, you know me, I'm a mythology slut. I like mythology. I live for mythology. So I don't know why I haven't picked it up yet. I think a small part of me feels that if I read this, I'll have put Ireland away forever. Not forever, but like now. So hopefully I get to this soon. It's another one of those I think I'll enjoy it over the summer reads. So probably after this month. So we'll see if this ends up in a TBR. The next book on my list is one that I bought just this past year, and like it's also just fiction, so I'm very excited. But that is Heavy Metal by Andrew Burrell. Anyway, this follows Danny, who is kind of dealing with depression and whatnot. He's about 16 years old. He's dealing with depression after his mom killed herself. So it's very trigger warning happy. So I think I'm going to get through this, probably not over the summer because it's a little too bogged down for me, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not much of a mood reader. I just kind of pick up books and see, like, I have a TBR, but for the most part I know what books I want to read, so I just kind of pick those up accordingly. And I don't want to read it in the middle of summertime, just because it's a little like heavy. I think this is more of a fall read when I'm like in the mood for heavier content. But the next book on this list is Dividing Eden by Joel Charbonneau. But yeah, this was an impulse buy. These two both were impulse buys because I saw books that I wanted to pick up and should pick up to finish out series, but then I ended up looking at these two books because I saw the sequel to this one popping up, and I was like, I'm not in the mood to buy the other ones. But this follows two twins, and I haven't heard too much about it. I think I heard about it once, but there's a sequel to it, and essentially it's kind of like One Dark Crown. Three Dark Crowns. Just think of the sequel. Three Dark Crowns by Kendara Blake, where these guys are twins, not sisters, and they were never destined to pick up the throne. But when all of their brothers in line, like their older brothers, died, they're kind of now in line, and they kind of have to fight for the throne and end up killing one another. So I'm interested in this because I know that it doesn't seem as slow paced as Three Dark Crowns. So I'm hoping this looks interesting. And I didn't know it had a sequel. So I ended up picking up the sequel first, and I read the first line and it sounded really interesting. So when I saw that it was on paperback, because cheaper, and that this was the first book, I picked it up on a whim just to be like, well, it sounds interesting. The cover is gorgeous. Like, look at this. So hopefully I'm going to end up enjoying it. And this is probably another one of those summer reads that I'll hopefully get to. Last book. This book is one that I also, it's a thriller. So I'm enjoying, I'm getting there, you guys. This is YA still. But I heard about it I think once or twice ago. And I never really got the chance. It's one of those things I just forgot about. But I ended up going through and like looking at it and like really looking at it, and it sounded really interesting. And that is The Third Twin by CJ Omololu. But essentially these two twins named Lexi and Ava made up a third sister named Alicia, which is kind of like a imaginary friend. And every time they would do something bad growing up, they would blame it on Alicia. Now that they're older, they are using Alicia as a cover-up for like an alias so they can do things with boys without having to give up their real name. Now, now a boy has ended up dead, and Alicia's fingerprints are on the boy. Now, they're confused because I think this is only told in Lexi's perspective, one of the twins. So either Lexi thinks that Ava did it, or somehow magically Alicia is real. So that was an interesting twist, and either way, that's kind of called a triplet. So I want to read it and see how this is working. And I hope that it's really good, because it sounds really good. And I read, I think, some Goodreads reviews while I was in Barnes & Noble waiting for my friend, and I think that it was rated pretty well. So hopefully I'll get to this sometime soon. I think I'm going to have a thriller kick probably soon. Yeah, soon. That's really the key word for this comprehensive TBR is soon. But that is it for my comprehensive TBR. The list just seems to keep growing. But if you guys like these kind of videos, hit like and subscribe. I try to upload videos every Wednesday and Saturday. And I'm vlogging the entire month of June as I reread through the Clockwork Prince, the Clockwork series, and Percy Jackson. So keep an eye on those, because those come out once a week. But other than that, I'll see you guys on Wednesday with our reading vlog. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Bye.